Hey everyone, it's Ethan back with some more digital drawing. Today we're doing 16 different logo-based drawings. I wanted more of a variety of designs that were like simple and small and that could be used as logos for things, or simple designs that could be slapped on pretty much anything or even put together in a sticker set or something like that. So I essentially just did 16 different simple ideas, all based around the shape of my logo. And starting off with just the outline itself, I pretty much copy and paste this outline to every single one of the designs. But to start, I just wanted something basic. And one of the things that I used to do way back in the day on Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is they had this like logo, I forget what it was called, but it was like a badge or a logo for your player card, and it was basically just a system of layering shapes on top of each other, but you could make really intricate things like dragon's eyes and scenes and different things like that. So I was kind of like channeling those vibes and that aesthetic with this, where it was just kind of like a badge looking design, simple shapes on top of each other with bevels and kind of like a metallic glisten or shine to them with a reflection maybe. But yeah, something very simple. And then some of these designs I also wanted to make with the option to have multiple color variants, not just a standalone set of colors. So this one's going to be somewhat monotone as far as just orange or just one color, and then I create more variants of it later. And then here, instead of using a gradient to show a difference in lighting, I chose to actually just put a big shadow on top of each layer. And this was not my favorite method. I probably won't do that way again. But I wanted to try as many different techniques as I could and just do whatever popped into my head and see how I can improve upon it later. So this design ended up being probably my shittiest one, because it was the first one. And they got better as they went, but you know, you gotta start somewhere. So my starting point was this. And I actually made 3 or 4 separate shadows for the different layers. I felt that one shadow was not gonna work out because I would have to put different reflection lines on there and it wouldn't line up properly. So I figured I would do it the long way. That's pretty much it for the first one. For every design that I do with these, I have to save like multiple file types. I have like a regular one, a small file size for thumbnails and things, and then one with no background to make out of stickers and things like that. So that way they retain the shape and it's not just a basic square. You can put those PNGs on pretty much anything. It's pretty nice. And then the second idea is not anything in particular. I just wanted something with some more flow. The last one had so many ridges that I just did something with a different kind of line. That's all. The interesting part is I put some splatter designs in the middle. It's just kind of like a basic texture thing. For designs like this, I end up spending way more time refining it and fixing the details than I do even like thinking of the design. So these were a pretty good warm-up for me. Where I was just like focusing on making lines and getting into the rhythm of it. This one I kind of branched off from just having green. I added a little bit of yellow and a little bit of blue, unlike the last one, which was pretty much just all orange. It's not easy to tell, but right there my system kind of crashed and I had to redo some steps after this. If there's one thing I hate, it's like getting most of the way through a design and then you forget to save properly or something and then you lose what you were working on. I ended up having like a finished image at the end, but I couldn't save the project with the layers, which was upsetting because like it makes it way harder to edit if you lose that. But whatever, I got through that. I'm glad it happened on my second design and not the 10th one or something like that. One thing I also wanted to do with this is maybe pull some old ideas out of my history, I guess, and reuse them. There was a time where I got some spray cans. I only had 3 cans, one yellow, one pink, and one blue, but I wanted to go paint something, so I went to the alley nearby and painted something very similar to this one with the triangles. Obviously this one's got 4 colors, so it's a bit more than the previous one, but I liked the simplicity of just having like simple polygons of like pretty bright, vibrant colors behind the logo itself. I have a Taco Bell shirt that actually kind of looks like this. I guess you could say I'm stealing from Taco Bell here, but it was cool, so I did it. I was using some guidelines here to help me with the perspective and making sure that the shadows were the right height from the color block itself. And the tricky part with this design is figuring out where to put the actual side of each of these blocks, because you've got a shadow, you could just put that behind everything, but then I wanted these shapes to have thickness too, so I had to approximate which ones would overlap which other ones by so much, and it's something that I used to do a lot with architectural drawings, and I think is really interesting and fun. Figuring out where where the cuts are in each shape and where they interact and fold onto each other and things like that. It's a nice illusion. One thing you have to do properly with this type of thing is make sure that each of the sides has like a slightly different light value, so that way you can separate between the edges of the different blocks and they don't look all homogeneous. Some of the edges I lightened up a little bit, some of the edges I darkened up a little bit. And then on top of the shapes themselves having shadows, they cast shadows onto each other. So that's another step you got to think about. Making sure that the shadow depth is right. Reminds me a lot of drawing streets and things like that, where the building shadow is cast on the sidewalks and it's multiple shadows on top of shadows because of things in front of other things on top of other things. Kind of fun, like seeing all the little spots where shadows need to go and filling in that space. And then just for fun, some highlights, some little white highlights. And then for pretty much every one of these, I think for every single one of these, it's just a flat color background, so that way it's easy to transfer onto clothing and things like that, and have a nice solid background to anchor to. I think this one was the first one I did with no outlines. It was all just simple color, couple of little things, and that's it. Sometimes you gotta just keep it simple and move on. But I do end up getting rid of this outline around the cheeks here. I think it makes it look pretty unique compared to the other ones, since there's going to be not really a whole lot of contrast. Still good though. Yeah, not much to say about that one. It was quick and easy. At some point I was running out of ideas, and I would just try to put a color down and see if anything like struck my mind about that color that I could use. One of them was just like, I don't know, I felt that this blue was a good paint blue. And I thought, okay, paint splatter might be fun, so I just found some paint splatter texture and saw what I could do with that, with just the shape of this brush texture. It's like a different approach than the last ones, I guess, because I wasn't necessarily drawing out each of these blobs, but I was transforming them and making them have depth and shape and you know, shading and placement and color synergy and things like that. It's different than creating the lines, which was nice. Sometimes I have people pop up in my chat, and one thing I love to do is show them my cat as soon as I see anyone there. I just show my little baby kitten, and then everyone's happy. And she's always happy to like hang out or jump on my shoulder or whatever. It's pretty fun. One thing that sucks about what I'm doing here though is I'm taking these spray paint texture brushes, and they usually have a very small like detail to them, and I'm taking that small detail and blowing it up super big. So my computer has to process all this extra texture that I'm not using because I'm zoomed in super far. And then just the act of moving that texture around takes so much computing power because I've blown it up so much that I end up just kind of sitting there and waiting for it to load half the time. During this particular one, I should say, not all of them. I feel like honestly for this design, every color of paint blobs maybe has 5 or 6 identical layers that I'm utilizing to help it be as strong or as effective as it is. It's got shadow layers, just extra layers for opacity purposes, overlay layers, like splatter layers, everything. Compared to all the other ones, I think every element of that design had the most layers. One thing I do like to do when I'm creating art in general is everything I make, like subsequently, I usually make very different from the previous thing. And with this one, this like whole 16 designs set that I'm doing, I feel like I wanted to just change my mind after every single one. And then starting at probably this design or maybe the next one, I was starting to be like, okay, am I gonna get to the end anytime soon? Like, I've done a lot of these, taken up a lot of space. Sometimes I have like very, very ambitious goals, and sometimes I'm just like, am I gonna make it all the way through what I want to make, or am I gonna have to like stop short? But I think this was a good exercise because a lot of the time I have a hard time finding a stopping point when I'm creating, and for this I had to find 16 stopping points and find that balance between simple and high quality, I guess, to where like I wanted the lines to be crisp and everything, but I couldn't put too much in there and make things like photorealistic. So it's a balancing game. Because like it was nice spending, what was it, maybe 25 hours on 16 projects as opposed to 25 hours on one project for once. This one is one of those designs where I kind of wish I had AutoCAD or something at my disposal. Simply because I could get like perfectly sized, perfectly straight lines every single time at the exact measurements that I want. And Photoshop is just too artistic for that level of specificity. I usually try to finish maybe 1.5 to 2 of these per session. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 3, but usually I try to just do 2 of them, so that way I didn't feel like it was a never-ending task. But for once, I kind of do a similar thing twice in a row. The last design with all the steps or the pyramid shape was a kind of symmetry tool where I was repeating on both sides, and this one's another symmetry tool, but it's a mandala, but it's pointy, it's not as square. So for once I wasn't really differing from the previous drawing very much, except in, I guess, aesthetic. This one I was going for kind of a neon glowy thing, which meant I needed a dark background to contrast against. And one thing that's cool about neon stuff or brightly lit sources in art is you put the color kind of just on the edges, and then the middle is white, so you get a really interesting effect with that. And I'm not very good at it, so I figured I would give it a shot with this project. And here I wanted there to be like some kind of shape with some kind of depth, as if it were like a glowing badge or something. Maybe a button you could push, or a recession into something. And I used these kind of circular guides to help me figure out the perspective and get the blocking in, so that way they looked correct and they didn't look all wonky. Watching it back, it doesn't even look like I put a different color in there, but I swear those are a gray. they're different. And to kind of highlight where the edges were, I thought that I would put some kind of like glowy mist, like glowy smoke effect to kind of simulate the light emanating out. I don't really know how successful I was with achieving that here, but you know, neon stuff is difficult. I haven't tried it before. I might try it again in the future because it was interesting. There's these graffiti pieces that people do that just straight up look like neon signs. I want to try those at some point, maybe. I think this one in particular is going to look really good on stuff, because it'll look like on a black background, it'll look pretty good. That glowing green contrast against the darkness, I think it'll be pretty good. On to the next one though. Now when I was doing these, I had like a little notebook where I sketched out pretty much all these ideas. And this one, when I had it sketched out, I had no clue what I wanted it to actually be. I just started with the butt logo and just draw like curves around it until you saw this kind of cyclone outline that I have here. And I thought about it for a while and I was like, it kind of does look like a cyclone or like maybe a hurricane. So I was like, okay, I could do something with clouds maybe. And then after I picked the pinkish purple hue, I was like, yeah, I'm getting cloud from this. So I just found a nice cloud texture and went to town on it. Tried to give it a nice swirl. And I had to make it so that it was in the middle, you know what I mean? Couldn't just have it laying on top. This one ended up being one of my favorites, just the way it looked. I don't know if it was my favorite to draw because it was pretty simple. Not much thought into how to make it happen, but it did look really nice. This one is another one of my old ideas. I just wanted to see again. One of my favorite mandalas that I made had these little like bulb shapes on them, and I just wanted to see them again, so I put them in on this project here. And it's just like a pretty repetitive pattern, but I like it. This is one of those ones where I didn't feel refined to any one color or any complementary colors. I just kind of went wild with it. Another one with pretty much all the colors of the rainbow in it. And then the parts that I thought were farther back, I chose like a darker hue. The ones that were closer up, a more light, maybe pastel set of colors. Just for a little bit of depth. As you can see, I get super distracted while I'm drawing most of the time. I always have something playing in the background or cats meowing at me for food and water. Sometimes, even though I'm excited to do what I'm doing, sitting still is not an option. I probably could have finished this one in like 20 minutes, but it probably took me an hour and a half. Still fun to do though. Still fun to take the time. No need to rush. The only thing that I was actually being conscious of is I didn't want to put all the same type of color next to each other. So I tried to space the greens apart from the greens a little bit if I could. it didn't completely work out, but you know, I did the best I could. This one, I just thought it would be cool if this was a donut. Like if my logo was a donut. So I drew it like a Simpsons donut, basically. And I put sprinkles on it and everything. It looks real nice. This is one of those ideas that just like, you know, pops into your head. You gotta make it. Just for funsies. I actually can't believe how long it took me to draw a plate. I guess I'm really bad at drawing like regular things. Maybe I was just really hungry when I made this one. That design we keep seeing is just my desktop background, but I do have a video of that if you want to check that out as well. It's a nice mandala that I made. But back to what's actually happening here. After the previous one, the next one on my little list was pretty much just a butt with holes in it. But I wanted to show some depth, like maybe have whole like chunks being taken out and set to the side. I don't know. It was just an idea. Not really much behind it. Kind of simple. Kind of goofy, I guess. This one definitely kind of just felt like an exercise, but still good. Because like honestly it was a little bit tricky because it was a symmetry effect and multiple layer like depth type. Like I was using multiple layers to insinuate that there was depth on the object, but at the same time all those objects were on a symmetry, so I had to kind of like do things in a certain order or it wouldn't look right. And that was a good puzzle to solve, but the idea itself was not that creative in my opinion. Man, watching back at me doing these, it seems like I'm really trucking through them, but at the time it felt very slow. I was like, man, this is never gonna end. Like right now, I'm not even 2/3 of the way done with it. Not even. Here someone gave me the idea of instead of the shape being pressed like up out of the ground, like maybe do an indent or a hole in the ground using this shape, and I was trying to maybe figure out how to do that with this design. I ultimately used it in a different design that I hadn't fully rough drafted yet, I guess. Like I had something so basic that it still needed some structure, and the chatter here that was talking to me helped me kind of finalize that idea, which was very cool of them. I like interacting with people when I work. They help me come up with ideas. They help me decide on color choice sometimes. I like to talk when I work. It's pretty fun. This part was super tedious, just making sure all the holes had the right shadows and the right lighting. Oh my god, it's like, it felt like I was doing nothing for hours. It wasn't even that long, but it felt like it was forever. I feel like the more tedious something is, the longer it feels like it takes. And I was definitely feeling the ADD urge to just get up and move around and not do this anymore. But eventually I finished it, so on to the next one. Oh, I'm wearing that Taco Bell shirt I was talking about before. That's very convenient. It's got the Taco Bell logo and then basically just triangles, colorful triangles behind it. Very convenient. This idea is much different from the last idea, where it wasn't as tedious at the end, but it felt like it was gonna be, because I was drawing bricks. This was actually almost 2 designs on top of one, because I wanted to do a spray painting on a brick wall effect, so I did a brick wall and then a design on top of that. Double feature. And then bricks, you know, they're kind of just like a mixture of sediments, so you can give them a general texture and it'll look pretty good. So I slammed some textures down, overlapped a few things, and give it some bricky looking surface. And then, you know, just red and brown behind that. Easy peasy bricks. Yeah, it's one thing about being sloppy with your paint strokes is you gotta erase a lot later. I am not a super precise painter. And then since this was kind of an effect on an effect, this design on top of the design is much more simple. Just classic graffiti bubbles. And then I didn't realize how these layers would stack, so I ended up having to erase parts of each layer so that the other colors could actually come through properly. And then I added a somewhat interesting little shadow effect, a little depth thing on all these bubbles. Nothing too exciting about it, but it was fun to make. is just me adding a little bit of depth. Nothing crazy. Very basic sloppy shadows. I ended up seeing parts where my sloppy paint strokes were going to overlap between the layers, so I actually separated the shadows into two, so that way I could be as sloppy as I wanted to. This one is just a little bit of abstract art. I don't really know what else to say other than I wanted to see these colors, orange, purple, yellow. I wanted to see some elements of abstract art, and you know, I think that's about it. The only thing to mention is I just kind of did like a color inverse for the color fill in the butt, but like look how fast that was. I was done with that one real quick. I don't know, just some ideas are quick, pop into your head, put them down, easy. Not every single one has to be like a whole thought project or step-by-step analysis. This one I was hesitant to do because I knew it was going to be challenging. I was going back to that idea that my viewer had talked about where I make a crater in the ground that is the shape of the butt, them cheeks. And I knew it was going to be difficult because it had to look kind of good. It could have just looked bad. And I have to spend effort. So here I am kind of just doing a proof of concept to make sure it would work. And then I went back in and made some better cracks and a better looking road. Because at first I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to pull this off. Am I gonna put it in dirt or sand, or like what's the setting for this crater? And since I have like a background in drawing architectural and civil engineering type stuff, I figured I would just do a road. It'd be easy. There's lines that can help demonstrate depth within this crater. So here we are. This one I had to figure out how to use layer masks. That's something I'm not usually super great at, so fun little exercise with that. I should do more layer mask stuff because that stuff, it's like super amazing the amount that you can control, how much stuff shows through per layer, where it shows through. It's incredible. I also, for the first time, used a different like pen type other than just a hard round. I went for the pressure size, so that way the cracks actually looked real, and I didn't have to like erase the tips down into a sharp point. It would just be more natural. And then since this kind of has to be like a standalone thing to fit in with the rest of the set, I just took some chunks out, and now it's a standalone piece. Took the sides right off, give it a little bit of depth, just a little bit. Then normally for these I put like a color in the background, but I wasn't feeling anything in particular for this one, and I already have one with a completely black background, so at the end of this I just decided it should be white. Kind of have like one of everything, sort of. And then the last thing I did with this is I just put some more texture in the busted part at the bottom. That's all. Nothing crazy. This one is just an homage to the original drip thick design that I made, the one that I put on my hoodie that I love so much. I feel like it's pretty iconic for me, this design, so I just kind of did one with the butt isolated. I thought it would be nice. I just made some basic drips, and then I color everything in my colors, the yellow, magenta, cyan type color scheme. Thought I could put some green in there, but I thought about it and then I was like, nah, no green, just the 3, just the good one. This one really kind of just felt like homework because the idea was already clear to me the moment I thought of it, and then I was just going through the motions the whole time. Because, you know, pretty much every design in a certain like theme or style has like a step-by-step that you go through, and I was really feeling that on this one. I was like, wow, these are the same steps I've already done how many times? It felt like maybe the repetitive nature of this project was starting to get to me at this point, but at the same time, I knew that I needed more hours just making stuff and doing the same thing over and over again, but not the same thing because that's boring. You know, gotta find that balance between practice and boring. Like good practice and being bored, there's too much overlap. Like when I'm playing music, especially guitar, you gotta practice scales and things like that. Super boring, but as soon as you get good at those, you can get good at everything else. So like instead of practicing those things on their own, I'll like do something else that involves those things so it's not as boring. I don't know. This design, I basically just wanted to draw a planet or something with rings like a planet has, and I think this is the only instance where I took an image from the internet and photoshopped it, because I did not want to try and just make planet rings. I thought it would be too tricky and it'd be easier just to steal them. So that's exactly what I did. I stole them, I adjusted them, and then I color changed them. But I went back to that color palette that I like. Purple, blue, orange, yellow. Kind of reminds me of a sunset a little bit, even though there's purple and blue. But I like it a lot. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please come through to my website at www.thic216.com. All my favorite designs are there. Come through to my Instagram where I have all of my published works. Only bangers on my Instagram. My Redbubble page features all of my best designs on some wonderful merch. All kinds of clothing, mouse pads, hats, anything you can think of. Shower curtains, stickers, laptop cases, phone cases. Here I am displaying a nice hoodie, classic design, a pillow. Who could do without a pillow? Nobody. Everyone needs a pillow. Very soft. We've also got prints. Any kind of print you could want. Posters, metal prints, framed prints. We've got zipper bags, zipper pouches. Put every pencil, every pen you've ever had in there. Mouse pad, desk pad, game mats. Anything you could think of. I've even got a bath mat and a shower curtain. Also come through to my TikTok, small videos there. And then my YouTube for all my full-length videos. And Fiverr if you want me to make art for you. Thanks again for watching all the way through. Here is a quick look about 30 seconds each, look at all the designs that I've made during this project. I had a lot of fun making all this stuff. It's weird calling it stuff, but it feels like I just made a bunch of stuff. But at the end of this, my plan is to just put all these designs on my website, my store, and things like that. Have a bunch of new stickers and things available for myself to probably get at some point. Because that's what I really do this for anyway. I make this stuff so that I can eventually buy it for myself, put it on a pillow, put it on a t-shirt, whatever. So at the end of the day, it's like, I don't even care if you guys like it. I'm gonna buy all this stuff for myself anyway. I'm gonna plaster all my walls with all my designs one day, and you won't even be able to see the wall underneath. It's gonna be great. And that's how I think every artist should feel about their stuff. You should probably, like, at some point just really start to enjoy what you make regardless of what it is. And today for me it was 16 butt logo designs that do not have anything to do with each other at all. But like I said, some of these designs are simple enough to where I made some color variations that I will be putting as options for my merch and things on my website. So if you want to see that, go through to my Redbubble page. There will be a ton of new stuff, or new things coming soon for this line here. This set of 16 designs, so it'll be pretty cool. I'm actually very excited to see a couple of these in real life. As soon as I have a little bit of extra cash money, I think I'm going to get maybe some shoes, maybe a hat, maybe a new hoodie. The inspiration for just kind of like putting them on the basic background too is I see a lot of very cool digital art that literally is just a thing on a basic background. I don't do that too often, but I do like the way it looks. A lot of the time the art that I make kind of stretches all the way to the edges, and it's not always the best for cropping onto objects. Sometimes I just want cool stuff with my art on it. I actually do enjoy how different each of these are. They don't really fit together, I feel, in like a set of designs because they're so different, but at the same time I feel like they do go well together in a way, even though they don't match at all. This one in particular, I was getting Portal vibes, like the orange and blue sets of rings. I don't know. Looks like Portal. Sometimes I forget that maybe I should add a little commentary. I just get lost at staring at these. Look at those clouds, so nice. Just get lost in them. Wow. Anyways, I gotta stop staring at my own art. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the very, very end. Checking out all these cool designs. If you want to see the color variants of some of these, come through to my Redbubble page. I'll be posting everything on my Instagram page, maybe some TikTok stuff. Definitely on Redbubble and on my website for sure. So if you want to come see the real final product of what I've been going for here, come through, check out the website, check out the Redbubble page. There's going to be all kinds of stuff like backpacks, socks, masks if you just need more masks, like everything. I don't know if I'll be posting on Twitter. I'm not going to call it the new name. Maybe I will. I'll probably post it. It's good to post everywhere. Oh, also come through to the Twitch if you want to hang out while I draw. I always have a good time talking to people, interacting, and taking ideas or suggestions and implementing them into what I do. I'm not always great at coming up with my own ideas or finalizing ideas, and input from others really does help. And that's why I stream. I like to talk, I like to hang, I like to bounce stuff around, and I like to make cool stuff. But that's all I got for you today, so thank you very much. Like and subscribe and all that. You know, thanks. Have a good one.